term climate justice. What is that?
Climate justice is recognizing that the negative impacts of climate change don't affect all people equally. It also means transitioning from a fossil fuel-based economy to a more sustainable future. MN350 is one of the groups that's pushing for this transition to protect our futures. You can even get involved too.
That's great, especially since I'm concerned about pipeline projects like Line 3. How can I help MN350?
Just find them on Facebook or visit mn350.org.
Hey, Cudahy to all my friends and relatives in four directions. This is Robert Pilot of Native Roots Radio presents I'm Awake. I'm here to ask you for your support. Finding honest Native-centered news is not easy. But with your support, we're able to provide accurate information about Standing Rock, Line 3, treaty violations, and COVID-19 in our Native communities. Please visit Native Roots Radio Network on Patreon and donate if you can. That's Native Roots Radio Network on Patreon. Pinigigi, and thank you for your support.
Minnesota has the only original wolf population in the continental United States, and 80% of Minnesotans believe the wolf should be protected. Howling for Wolves is asking Minnesotans to respect our true wildlife manager, the wolf. Their survival is critical to our ecosystems, our communities, and even our economy. As highly intelligent animals with strong social bonds, Minnesota wolves deserve to be protected and admired. Learn more at howlingforwolves.org. Let's live and let howl.
We have vital information we would like to share with you. The Department of Indian Work St. Paul partnered with the Minnesota Department of Health to open the Twin Cities American Indian COVID-19 hotline. They provide information on testing sites, isolation space, vaccines, housing assistance, and food resources. If you or someone you know has questions about COVID-19 or has questions to determine if you should get tested, please call them at 651-304-9986. Again, the number is 651-304-9986. The Twin Cities American Indian COVID-19 hotline is open for calls Monday through Friday from 8 a.m. to 8 p.m.
Call the Twin Cities American Indian COVID-19 hotline at 651-304-9986. That's 651-304-9986.
With your AM 950 weather, I'm Brett Johnson. Look for clear skies overnight with a low around 63, Saturday sunny with a high near 86, and Sunday sunny with a high near 88. Victor's 1959 Cafe is now open for both dining room and outdoor patio seating. Victor's is an authentic taste of Cuban cuisine for any meal of the day. Open Wednesdays through Sundays from 9 a.m. to 2:30 with takeout still available. More at victors1959cafe.com.
Portions of Native Roots Radio may be pre-recorded.
It's a good day to be indigenous.
Get up, stand up.
They are going to become more brutal.
Couldn't cut, hitting cut again.
Because all the hippies were trying to be Indians anyway.
They're going to become more repressive because it's a matter of dollars and their illusionary concepts of power.
Hey, Victor.
We must live in balance with the earth.
And also with recent happenings at Wounded Knee.
I am awake.
Hey, Cudahy to all my friends and relatives in four directions. You're listening to Native Roots Radio presents I'm Awake, and I'm your host, Wakanjahade. That means distant thunder. My colonized name is Robert Pilot, and we discuss national and Twin City Native American news and events. And as we all know, Native issues are human issues, and human issues are Native issues.
This portion of the show is brought to you by the Twin Cities American Indian COVID-19 hotline. Call them at 651-304-9986. They're open Monday through Friday from 8 a.m. to 8 p.m. So we want to wish somebody a happy birthday. So here we go. It's Ogama's birthday today.
Sing along with us. Happy birthday. Okay. Wow.
Awesome. Yeah, we wanted to.
We had Stevie
Ogama
Wonder record that and send that to us.
Yeah. Personally for Ogama.
You didn't get a chance to hear that, but yeah. Wow.
Mm-hmm.
Another time around the sun, Ogama.
Yeah.
Yes, thank you for the birthday wishes. It is another time around the sun, but the older you get, kind of the less birthdays matter. But I am going to be celebrating with my family tomorrow, so I'm pretty excited for that.
Well, I wouldn't say birthdays matter the older you get. I think I really like my birthday. Right,
I think
Wendy?
they should matter more.
Yeah.
Right? The more
exactly.
important, they seem that they come faster as you get older, though.
Well, now that we acknowledged Ogama's birthday,
Yeah.
and now we can just move on. No, I'm just kidding. But yeah, really happy birthday and Pinigigi for all you do here. And one of the things too, before we gush more on each segment and remind everyone it's your birthday and that what your Venmo is I want to really say Pinigigi to Lewis. Lewis is our new partner in Native Roots Radio. And Lewis, do you mind playing your TikTok that you put up today?
Yeah, sure. Absolutely. Let's get it going.
Hey, Cudagy to all my TikTok friends and relatives all over Turtle Island. Local and national guests help us get current on Mother Earth, tribal, and political issues all across Turtle Island. On today's show, Minnesota State Senator Mary Kunesh, along with regulars Wendy, Ogama, and Lewis. Monday through Friday, 6 p.m. to 7 p.m. Central Time. We are awake. Wow, Wendy.
Nice.
We're on TikTok now.
Yeah, that's awesome. TikTok is
TikTok.
TikTok. TikTok is the bomb.
Yeah. And so what's our TikTok, Lewis?
Native Roots Radio. TikTok.
Man,
Native Roots Radio. We're in the money on that one.
Okay, there we go.
Right on. So nobody could see it, but it was great graphics and great editing by Lewis. So,
Yeah.
hey, we can bleed over a little bit to next segment too, Ogama, because we were so excited with your birthday and so excited that we're TikTok famous now. We got 2 or 3 people following us. And so, Ogama, with the news where you don't hear any news like this anywhere else. Pinigigi.
Hey, Annie Buju, everybody. I just want to start off by saying that right now in San Francisco, California, in solidarity with the frontline Indigenous leadership in Minnesota, there are about 24 activists that are occupying the San Francisco Federal Building, demanding that the President Joe Biden stop Line 3. So I am pretty excited about that. And they are part of, I believe that update came from the Oil and Gas Action Network. I'm not sure if that is specifically the group that's holding solidarity, but I wanted to reach out and say, thank you to our relatives in California and to our allies who are holding that space. We need all the help we can get. Unfortunately, the drought in Minnesota actually is kind of helping us. The drought is actually having an impact on Enbridge's Line 3 pipeline construction here in Minnesota. The Minnesota DNR did suspend some of the water permits that were given to Enbridge for dust control, drilling, and line testing in some locations where surface water is in low supply. The project will not stop. Enbridge just isn't able to take surface water. They are still allowed to take groundwater in some areas. Basically, what's going to happen is the DNR is going to continue to monitor water levels and will allow water use to resume once supplies. I mean, they're calling these supplies, but like, this is water. This is a limited resource. These are not supplies that we can make more of. But once the supplies are back to more sustainable levels. So for now, the major watersheds that are most affected or that are experiencing a stop because of Enbridge's watering permits being canceled are on the Pine River, the Crowing River, the Mississippi River near Grand Rapids, and the St. Louis River watershed areas. So there's just 4 watersheds where they're experiencing these changes, but it looks like it's installation 16, 17, 20, 25, 27, 21, 36, and 37. So that includes the Shell River, Savannah River, Lewis River, Pine River, and Daggett Brook, which is outside of Pine River. So I'm grateful for a slow to this construction, but again, Enbridge is still being allowed to pull groundwater from this for these permits. I also want to make sure that everybody knows that the Rise Coalition put out a statement calling everyone to northern Minnesota. They're asking people to come to protect the wild rice waters July 19th through 31st. Right now, Enbridge is more than 60% done constructing their pipeline. And on July 15th, the last restrictions keeping them from drilling under the waterways where the wild rice grows will lift. So Enbridge is preparing to go under the final river crossings, likely starting with the one under the headwaters of the Mississippi. You are invited to come hold space, stand in solidarity, and honor the treaty obligations we all share. They're asking that people come to the LaSalle campground and be ready to go where needed. The LaSalle campground is near where the Treaty People gathering was. So if you made it to the Treaty People gathering, or if you got some info from the Treaty People gathering on hand still, that is where you go. Again, asking you to come to northern Minnesota, July 19th through 31st, to help honor treaty rights, stand in solidarity, and hold space. That is something that needs to happen, and thank you to Rise Coalition for putting that out. I also just want to send some prayers up for our relatives at the Confederated Tribes of the Colville Reservation. They are in the state of Washington, and they are in a state of disaster right now. They are dealing with a rather large fire that was sparked on Monday, they believe by lightning, the Chewea Creek fire. The first reports came in the evening on Monday, and by today it was burning at about 32 square acres. So we're facing a really serious climate crisis right now. And of course, these types of things like fires and droughts and all those things are always, as we know, disproportionately affecting our Native relatives. So even though we have this fight here in Minnesota, I wanted to send some prayers out. There's about 9,500 descendants of 12 tribes that are enrolled in the Confederated Tribes of Colville. So they're a really large group right now, and they're frantically trying to set up camp to protect their people from fire, which granted could be all of us here in Minnesota at any given time with the drought we're facing too. So whatever we give, we get back tenfold. I know Robert always says that, so I'm giving prayers for them today on my birthday. I want, if anybody can, please send some prayers for all the animals and for the people that are experiencing what's happening with these fires. Right now, there's over 70 active wildfires in the western part of the country. California, Oregon, and Washington are all really hard hit right now. So say some prayers for them, and also for Ontario and Canada, because they're also experiencing fires as well.
Yeah, it's really sad, Wendy.
It is sad, and if anybody, is living near the drought and having really hot temperatures, please put pans of water out for the wildlife.
Yeah, good call. And
Yeah.
Ogama, are you done with the news, or should we jump in a little more the next segment?
Yeah, I've got just one more thing on line 5 and another thing from our relatives in South America. So
Awesome.
I can do another minute or two.
Well, up next, the birthday girl and State Senator Mary Kunesh. This is Friday edition of Native Roots Radio presents I'm Awake.
Stay with us.
When we heal from our traumas,
when we face our fears,
let go of our addictions,
when we relearn our values,
when we live our teachings,
respecting our elders,
cherishing and honoring our children,
when we honor and take care of our spirit,
there will be no room left for sexual violence.
Sponsored by the Minnesota Indian Women's Sexual Assault Coalition.
Hey, Ogama, I've been hearing a lot about this term, climate justice. What is that?
Climate justice is recognizing that the negative impacts of climate change don't affect all people equally. It also means transitioning from a fossil fuel-based economy to a more sustainable future. MN350 is one of the groups that's pushing for this transition to protect our futures. You can even get involved too.
That's great, especially since I'm concerned about pipeline projects like Line 3. How can I help MN350?
Just find them on Facebook or visit mn350.org.
Over the past year and more, we've all missed out on a lot. Family time, graduations, weddings. And missing those events, we've missed out on even more. Friendships, connections, community, belonging. That's a long time to miss things this important. So don't miss on getting the COVID-19 vaccine. Vaccines are now available throughout Hennepin County to anyone over the age of 16. Just visit takecarehennepin.org and sign up to get yours. That's takecarehennepin.org.
Hey, Cudahy to all my friends and relatives in 4 directions. This is Robert Pilot of Native Roots Radio presents I'm Awake. I'm here to ask you for your support. Finding honest Native-centered news is not easy. But with your support, we're able to provide accurate information about Standing Rock, Line 3, treaty violations, and COVID-19 in our Native communities. Please visit Native Roots Radio Network on Patreon and donate if you can. That's Native Roots Radio Network on Patreon. Pinigigi, and thank you for your support.
Hi, I'm Jane Fonda, and you're listening to Native Roots Radio.
You're welcome back. Native Roots Radio presents I'm Awake, and I'm your host, Robert Pilot.
This portion of the show is brought to you by MN350, a grassroots organization fighting for climate justice.
Hey, before we get going here with State Senator Mary Kunesh, that's with all Ogama's birthday singings and
we cut
celebrations.
Into her news,
we cut into her news, so we'll give you a couple more minutes here before we get to State Senator Mary Kunesh.
Absolutely. Thank you for that. I appreciate it. So just a couple more things here. Our relatives trying to stop the Line 5 pipeline are having an event on Saturday, July 24th. It's going to be an all-day event, and they're asking people to come to the Copper Falls State Park near Mellon, Wisconsin. What they're going to do, I think, what they're hoping to do is they're hoping to release something into the river that would time a potential oil leak on the Enbridge Line 5 easement. So I don't know what they could release, but I'm certain there's probably something they could do to time it. And I think that it's important to talk about that, timing those things. In Minnesota, the Minnesota Pollution Control Agency just announced that Enbridge is now going to have to put out those little orange bumpers that we seen on July 6th at the Willow River spill. They're going to be preemptively putting those up whenever they drill now. So now we're going to have no idea when they actually have a spill. Yeah, I don't know that that's an accident. And then, people in North American Indigenous people are not the only people that are facing these kinds of things here. Our relatives in Brazil, there's about 850 members of 4 dozen Brazilian indigenous tribes that are camped in Brasilia, which is, and they're just a little ways away from the Congress and government buildings. And they're there to fight for their indigenous land rights. What's happening right now is that there's a bill known as PL 490 that, if passed, weakens indigenous people's lands rights and opens the door to more extractive industries. So on Tuesday this week, police fired tear gas, stun grenades, and rubber bullets against the indigenous protesters as the Justice and Constitution Committee was expected to vote on the legislation. An earlier vote on the bill was postponed last week. So, I mean, this is not new. This is not something that is over for any of our indigenous people anywhere on Turtle Island. So I don't know if that makes anybody feel better, but at the very least, we know we're not the only ones fighting.
Yeah, Pinigigi, and again, happy birthday, Ogama, and all you do for Native Roots Radio, and as a warrior, young warrior woman, we really appreciate you here. So hey, we're back to a regular schedule right now, and we got State Senator Mary Kunesh, who's I've been following on Facebook, who's doing all this Native stuff all over Turtle Island, and I'm sure you got a few things to tell us about what you did this week. Great, and Pinigigi for being on. Okay, you're muted. I always like to say that once a show. Okay, and here we go. State Senator Mary Kunesh, you're on.
Now, can you hear me?
Yep.
Okay, good. Happy to be here with you this very warm Friday afternoon.
Awesome. Hey, can you tell us a little bit of what you were doing last week? It looked pretty exciting. I saw you with Ruth Buffalo and Red Dawn Foster, all these warriors across Turtle Island. It looked like you were doing some important work and also some nice pictures.
Thanks. Yep, we were out in Rapid City, South Dakota for a legislative conference, the Midwest Legislative Conference. So the states of North and South Dakota, Kansas, Minnesota, and a couple of the provinces from Canada were there. And so we all gathered to talk about important issues. And Sean Bordeaux from South Dakota got us all together for a Native American caucus where we were able to kind of talk about some of the things that have really been plaguing us. And it was really good to be there. You remember Ponca Way? She was there. I can't remember everybody's name. I feel bad. But we were, talking about issues that really affect each one of our states. And then, of course, they're going to affect our states as we're connected to those. But one of the committees that I was assigned to as a state senator here is Canada Midwest relationships. And so Canadians still cannot come down to the United States. And the trade is still really, the economic issues are still really, really bad for both Canada and Minnesota. And so there are, I believe, only 2 Canadians, actual Canadians from Canada came down. And then here in Minnesota, we have a council person. He was there, and those sort of things. So I sat in and listened to some of the struggles to open up the borders again. It's a huge impact, not just on Minnesota and the Dakotas or any of the bordering states, but, economically, it really affects a lot of people. And just, personally, last August, I believe it was, I ordered a new couch. And unbeknownst to me, it was manufactured in Canada. And that couch didn't come until February because of the import-export issues because of COVID. And so those were some of the issues that we talked about. But I presented 2 resolutions to this Midwest Canadian group. One was to continue the work of and working together on our missing and murdered Indigenous relatives, because we know that our relatives, there never used to be borders. And so all these states around us and up into Canada, all the way to Alaska, this was the land of the Indigenous people. And so we have relatives now on both sides of the borders now that we have border lines. That was an important one to do. And then the other one is is around all the remains of the children that are being found in the boarding schools. Right. And so as I've been talking to people about that, and they're asking, where, when, why, how, all of those sort of things, and what are we going to do to address that? One of the things that I was concerned about is if and when the remains of these children are returned home, are moved or returned home, that their remains, as well as any funerary items that might be with them, maybe they were buried with a favorite toy or clothing perhaps that they had at one point. Anyway, that those were returned to the tribe as well, because historically in the past, a lot of times when remains were found, they were sent to an anthropological institute or university for study, or just, put in a box and put on a shelf somewhere, just being stored until somebody wanted to look at them and measure them and do DNA on them. But I thought it was really, really important that the remains are returned to the tribes. And of course, how do we know which tribes they belong to? We're not always sure, but most of the kids in these different unique boarding schools and residential schools came from specific tribes and reservations. So otherwise, that they would be left and remain to rest where they are found. And at that point, then that area is protected and sacred lands that cannot be disturbed. Because, we've heard stories about how there's a mound and people know that there are bodies buried in there, but they're used, kids bike over them, or it's a dirt bike trail. Or I heard one place where the residential school is now a golf course, and people are out playing golf courses amid gravestones. So just more consideration, more respect, and allowing the tribes to decide how they would like to lay those children to rest.
Yeah, and it's not only tribes, it's families too. And I talked to, we all know Marlene, Minister Marlene, who's Ho-Chunk, and she's going on a trek right now, and they're returning a lot of their children to North Dakota.
To Rosebud.
And yeah, right.
Yep.
So
I mean,
this
I don't
week.
know how they will identify, the remains other than doing DNA tests. And again, there are folks that say, let's not do that. In fact, let's not even disturb them with sonar or ultrasound equipment, because that disturbs their spirits once again. But I think it's important for the tribes and the families to decide how they would like to put their children to rest. And so neither one of those resolutions passed, but in a way it was okay, because what the people on the committee said, we don't know enough about it. We want to vote for this. We know it's the right thing to do, but we want to know more about this. Like, educate us, please. So we tabled the resolutions. We're going to put together information sessions around both of those issues. And then we'll go back as a committee and hopefully educate the legislators and the Parliament people of Canada, though they probably know well enough, maybe even better than me, and then take that vote again. So it didn't pass, but in a way it turned out to be better than I had hoped.
Do you have time for another segment, State Senator?
Sure, I'll stick around.
Awesome. Great. So one of the things too, I think these were marked graves that they're returning their bodies to, and I think that's how they know who the families are. So there is a differential of what we're talking about.
Sure.
So, hey, you're listening to Native Roots Radio presents I'm Awake, and we're here with State Senator Mary Kunesh. We'll be right back.
Stay with us.
Hey, Wendy, what are we doing for dinner after the show?
How about we go to J. Selby's on 169 Victoria Street in St. Paul? They have a delicious plant-based menu that's compassionate and environmentally sustainable.
I'm getting their spot-on vegan Big Mac, the dirty secret.
You can pick up and they deliver within a 5-mile radius, or you can call them at 651-222-3263 or visit jselbys.com.
Well, you sold me, Wen. Let's go order at J. Selby's tonight.
I'm hungry.
Life is a journey, and the Doherty Family College will help you get where you want to go. Located downtown Minneapolis, this affordable 2-year college provides free textbooks, a laptop, meals, career coaches, one-on-one mentorship, and a Metro Transit pass, making DFC the perfect pathway to a bachelor's degree. Turn your dreams into reality. Connect with a counselor today at dfc.stthomas.edu.
We have vital information we would like to share with you. The Department of Indian Works St. Paul partnered with the Minnesota Department of Health to open the Twin Cities American Indian COVID-19 hotline. They provide information on testing sites, isolation space, vaccines, housing assistance, and food resources. If you or someone you know has questions about COVID-19 or has questions to determine if you should get tested, please call them at 651-304-9986. Again, the number is 651-304-9986. The Twin Cities American Indian COVID-19 hotline is open for calls Monday through Friday from 8 a.m. to 8 p.m.
Call the Twin Cities American Indian COVID-19 hotline at 651-304-9986. That's 651-304-9986.
In Minnesota, perinatal and postpartum mothers have legal protections to help keep them safe and healthy in the workplace. That means exclusions from heavy lifting, safe spots for breastfeeding, and more. The Women's Economic Security Act protects the rights of pregnant and postpartum women to work safely during pregnancy and to express breast milk at work. The Minnesota Department of Labor and Industry is here to help you and to protect your rights. Call 800-342-5354 or visit dli.mn.gov/new parents.
Hi, Minnesota. Stephanie Miller here. Join me every weekday morning from 8 to 11 for a humorous look at politics and current events on AM 950, the progressive voice of Minnesota.
COVID-19 vaccines are safe, effective, free and approved for everyone over the age of 12. Need help getting a COVID-19 vaccine? Trusted community connectors can find vaccination sites, make appointments, answer questions, and provide interpretation. To learn more about scheduling a free appointment or find a community connector, visit ramseycounty.us/COVID vaccine. That's ramseycounty.us/COVID vaccine.
If you're hurting in your relationship or have been affected by sexual violence, you're not alone. Strong Hearts Native Helpline can help you through these difficult and uncertain times. Strong Hearts Helpline is a free 24/7 confidential domestic dating and sexual violence helpline for Native Americans. Help is available by calling 1-844-762-8483 or by clicking on the Chat Now icon on strongheartshelpline.org. This message is sponsored by the National Indigenous Women's Resource Center.
With your AM 950 weather, I'm Brett Johnson. Look for clear skies overnight with a low around 63, Saturday sunny with a high near 86, and Sunday sunny with a high near 88. It's been 756 days since the last Twin Cities Pride event, and fortunately, it's back this weekend. The 49th Annual Twin Cities Pride Festival will be at Loring Park this Saturday and Sunday, and it'll feature local BIPOC and LGBTQ+ vendors, a food court, a beer garden, and music stages. Details at tcpride.org.
Hey, welcome back to Native Roots Radio Presents I'm Awake, and I'm your host, Robert Pilot.
This portion of the show is brought to you by the Minnesota Indian Women's Sexual Assault Coalition.
Hey, before we get back to State Senator Mary Kunesh, Lewis, do you have any response to what Harold had to say up there about our missing children?
Yeah, there was a whole procession on Rosebud, the Sichango Lakota Oyate, and a couple other organizations involved with our tribe. Did a convoy of bringing these 6 Sichango Lakota children from Carlisle all the way back to Rosebud. And it was followed by motorcycles, flags, and a lot of prayer too. So we were able to get quite a bit of our tribal citizens out there in order to bring these children back home. And very emotional when we talk about it. Even my voice trembles when I do speak about it. So it's so touching. But we got to prepare ourselves as an Indian community, as Indigenous people. This is just the beginning. We're going to see a lot more of this. So, again, we're so happy to see them come home.
Yeah, thank you, and Pinigigi for that. All right, back to State Senator Mary Kunesh. I know, how does it feel? I shouldn't say to be off, but you're not in session for the first time in maybe 10 years, it seems.
It feels like that. I haven't really been off. My days are still very, very full with the legislative work. I was at a luncheon today with DFL women legislators, and we had so much to talk about, not only just this session and what we were able to do or we weren't able to do, but also looking ahead at the elections that will be coming up and redistricting, sharing a lot of resources with each other. And even though this is not an election year, we all are, basically campaigning anyway. We'll be outdoor knocking, contacting our constituents, doing fundraisers and that sort of thing. But I got tapped by one of the women that was there who had been a legislator, and she's working on a project around education and asked me to join her on that one. And then another, I'm going to send this to you, and maybe this is backwards, but another woman handed me this flyer, and these are scholarships for solar and renewable energy. And so they really are looking for uniquely women and women of color to get into that work. And there are accelerated courses, and they're flexible courses, 8 and 16-week courses in a mix of online and in-person in order to to become solar and renewable energy experts, which would be great. So I'll send that to you and you can post that. So we're always connecting and reconnecting on those.
Was that Century College that I saw, or is that all
Century College? Yep. Yep. But the let's see, I think the deadline is at the end of August. So they're anxious to do it. The scholarships from the target corporation will range from $3,200 to $4,700 for tuition and supplies. On the other side, graduates can earn $76,710 a year on average with 5 years experience, with earnings up to $94,000. And so these are really important new careers that folks could have in an accelerated sort of way. So it's
that's exciting.
Like I said, always networking. Yeah.
Yeah, send that to us.
Mary, is that sponsored by XL Energy? I thought I saw on the flyer, or who is sponsoring that?
Target Corporation.
Oh, Target. Okay.
And it's at Century College.
That's awesome.
Yeah. Low tuition rates, financial aid available. They want to help students avoid student loan debt. And then there's also additional scholarships available.
Wow. Hey, I got a question for you that's kind of off subject, but not really about what you do. There's a young warrior that I talked to for a couple hours that is new to the house. And, how do you deal with, and I know she's had some issues with our own community kind of coming back at her because, I know you do a lot of work and I know she does a lot of work. And it's not our way to be braggadocious about what you're doing behind the scenes. And I know you do a lot of work behind the scenes and she does. So it appears to maybe a novice that, you're not doing much or she's not doing much. I mean, how do you respond and keep your sanity? Because I know you were just talking about, you were in a meeting today. How many meetings, I only know you're really, really busy because we talk to you every week about what you're doing. But how do you combat that and not get down on yourself? Because we want to stay humble, but we also know that, State Senator and our other relatives are working really hard behind the scenes.
Yeah. That is a hard one, but I have to remind people we're supposed to be a part-time legislature, and one thing I always, when we go to these conferences and hear about how legislatures are in the other states, there are states that do not pay their legislators a salary. It's a per diem when they are in session. We go into session every year and legislate. There are some that don't go in, they do every other year. But, and it's not that we can just turn it off. It's like when you're a teacher. Yeah, we're there through the school year, but when we're not in the building, we're always building up our skills. We're connecting with other educators. It's always on our mind. We're always planning ahead. And it's the same thing with the legislature. And when I haven't had that problem, I haven't had people confront me and say I'm not doing enough work or that sort of thing. Sometimes
you at line 3.
Yeah. Sometimes people feel I do too much for the, my focus is Indigenous people, but then I say, oh, wait a minute. What I also did was this for in the education field, or, get funding for a study for a new mass rapid bus line up to our area. And so if people ever say to me that I'm not doing enough or I'm not doing enough in a certain area, I try to let them know. And then there's also the fact that I'm not an expert on everything. And sometimes I have to let the experts be the one that are doing the legislation. I don't always have my finger or my thumb in what's going on. But I try to be visible and I try to be available to my constituents. And I think they recognize that.
So when you're voting on things, are you voting on your own conscience, or are you voting on what you ran on, or are you voting on what your constituents would like? Or is it a combination?
Oh, that's a really good question. I would say it's a combination. But I have to look closely at at my district, my constituents, and focus on what is best for our area. Sometimes, as a Democrat, my decisions don't necessarily align with our Republicans or other parties, but I always, when I vote a really controversial bill or issue, and people come back at me like, why did you vote for that, or why didn't you vote for that? I can always tell them why I did or did not. Why I thought that was important that I supported something or prevented something. And I think that when I am able and have enough knowledge to defend myself, they understand that it wasn't just party line, or it wasn't just what somebody else, a lobbyist wanted me to do. When they're that controversial, I try to know as much as I can and make the best decision that I think is going to be best for the state of Minnesota as well as my district.
You know why I'm asking these things, don't you?
No.
Because of my new job.
Oh, that's right. That's right. You're going to have to deal with that. And, I have to say, there's a lot I don't know about. I mean, I don't know that much about solar energy. I don't know about taxes. I don't know so many of the things that we are expected to vote on. But I try to do my best to educate myself outside of the norm so that at least I have a pretty good understanding.
We had the lieutenant governor, and maybe Ogama can jump in and help us a little bit with what she gave out a statement, more than a one-sentence statement, and I don't know if it's good enough for some people or whatever, but I liked it, and I thought it was good. And have you heard about that? And Ogama, are you available to paraphrase it at all?
Yeah. I'm here, and Lieutenant Governor. Yeah, I'm echoing, and I'm not really sure why.
Yeah, so Lieutenant Governor Peggy Flanagan wrote a longer statement, not just a 2-sentence statement on why she opposes line 3 and her feelings about it.
Yeah.
Yep. I got you off mute I put you on mute on StreamYard.
Thank you. Was that the issue? I appreciate that. So, Lieutenant Governor Flanagan's post basically said, she's long expressed her opposition to line 3. She talked about her daughter knowing that she's a water protector and that water is our first medicine, that wild rice, monomen, is sacred. And she said, while she cannot stop line 3, she will continue to do what is within her power to make sure that our people are seen, heard, valued, and protected. She said she's proud. She's a proud member of the White Earth Nation, and she stands with her people in opposition to line 3. And I'm kind of in the same boat as Mary. I don't actually really know that much about what Lieutenant Governor Flanagan's power is in this situation, so I really feel for her.
Well, I'm just asking 30 seconds, State Senator, is that a good start, or what?
Well, the lieutenant has always expressed her dismay in line 3 and does not support it. And so, people will again and again ask her to reiterate and to intercede. And as the lieutenant governor, she does have very limited powers to make any of those decisions. And at the end of the day, it's really in the governor's hands, and it's, how he instructs his commissioners.
Thanks, State Senator Mary Kunesh. Have a great week, and Pini Gigi for answering all my questions. We'll be right back.
Stay with us.
Take care, everyone.
Hey, Ogama, I've been hearing a lot about this term, climate justice. What is that?
Climate justice is recognizing that the negative impacts of climate change don't affect all people equally. It also means transitioning from a fossil fuel-based economy to a more sustainable future. MN350 is one of the groups that's pushing for this transition to protect our futures. You can even get involved too.
That's great, especially since I'm concerned about pipeline projects like Line 3. How can I help MN350?
Just find them on Facebook or visit mn350.org.
Minnesota has the only original wolf population in the continental United States, and 80% of Minnesotans believe the wolf should be protected. Howling for Wolves is asking Minnesotans to respect our true wildlife manager, the wolf. Their survival is critical to our ecosystems, our communities, and even our economy. As highly intelligent animals with strong social bonds, Minnesota wolves deserve to be protected and admired. Learn more at howlingforwolves.org. Let's live and let howl.
We have vital information we would like to share with you. The Department of Indian Works St. Paul partnered with the Minnesota Department of Health to open the Twin Cities American Indian COVID-19 hotline. They provide information on testing sites, isolation space, vaccines, housing assistance, and food resources. If you or someone you know has questions about COVID-19 or has questions to determine if you should get tested, please call them at 651-304-9986. Again, the number is 651-304-9986. The Twin Cities American Indian COVID-19 hotline is open for calls Monday through Friday from 8 a.m. to 8 p.m.
Call the Twin Cities American Indian COVID-19 hotline at 651-304-9986. That's 651-304-9986.
Bonjour, I am Oshawashko Gajig. I'm from Red Lake Nation, and you're listening to Native Roots Radio.
Wow. Welcome back to Native Roots Radio presents I'm Awake. And Wendy, you got to see that young warrior a few days ago.
Yeah, she was at our house. She's a doll. Really
Yeah.
funny, smart, really awesome.
Wow. So what portion is this?
This portion of the show is brought to you by Howling for Wolves, protecting wolves for future generations.
Ooh. Wow. Hey, it's a fantastic Friday. It's a positive Friday, and this is our Sacred Animal section with Wendy Pilot. Tell us your name and how positive are you going to be today?
I'm going to be pretty positive. Not extremely positive, but pretty positive.
All right.
My name is Hanaji Hihani, and that means cares for them. As everyone knows, I was given that name by my Dega Curtis. His name is Mashke Hanajinga, which means walks on white clouds. And I always appreciate him giving me that name because it means a lot to me. I volunteer with the Humane Society of the United States, and my title is a Humane Policy Volunteer Leader, and I work on animal issues at the local and state level. So I'm happy to do that work, and it excites me when things get done. So I'm going to be talking about something that the Humane Society of the United States is working on, along with other animal advocacy groups. Robert and I've talked to you about this. It's called a Humane Pet Store Ordinance, right?
Yeah.
And I worked with a city council member, Sheila Lamb, in Cloquet, and we got this ordinance passed there. So what the ordinance says is that no one in Cloquet or whatever area it is cannot sell dogs and cats that originate from a puppy mill. So what this ordinance does will cut the pipeline from the puppy mills to the pet stores. And we want to get this ordinance done in as many cities in Minnesota as possible.
Mm-hmm.
And we're even trying to lobby for a statewide ordinance. But until that goes through, we want, city by city by city to adopt this pet store ordinance, because the pet stores eventually won't have anywhere to go.
Yeah.
Right? They're not going to have anywhere. But I'm really happy to hear that Blaine, the city of Blaine, Minnesota, is we're giving them a push. So the city council members already listened to the ordinance, and they are looking forward to hearing more about it. So what I'm asking people here, if you live in Blaine, please contact your city council member and tell them that you would like a humane pet store ordinance.
Even if you're in Chicago or Madison, let them know.
No. So what happens is they only want to hear from the residents of Blaine. But if you know someone who lives in Blaine, please encourage them and recruit your friends who live in Blaine to call their city council members and tell them that they would like Blaine to adopt a humane pet store ordinance. And in Minnesota right now, Cloquet, that was the most newest one. We have Eden Prairie, Roseville, Carver, and St. Paul. So we're getting there. So if you know any city council members who might be interested in this, please send them my way, and I could help you do this. And what I really wanted to talk about, during the week I was talking about the Onaquai horses who live in Utah and the roundups, right? And I'm really upset about it. And I'm going to talk a bit more on Monday about that and give some updates. But I wanted to talk about not 13, I'm not going to have time, but some fun wild horse facts.
Oh, cool.
Yes.
I was hoping to get an octopus fact thrown in there. Don't they have like 4 hearts or something?
Well, here's a few things that I didn't really know. Not every wild horse is actually wild. There is only one breed of horse, the Mongolian wild horse, that is considered to be the authentically wild horse. Every other herd or family unit is considered to be a feral horse. The difference in classification comes from their lineage and behavior. Feral horses are the descendants of domesticated horses that were able to adapt living in the wild.
They escaped.
Yeah, they did. You're absolutely right. So for truly wild horses, their genetics help distinguish their efforts to live without human interference. So I looked up, are the Onaquai horses really wild, or if they are? And the only thing I could come up with is that they are wild, because that's, they are wild horses, because I couldn't find anything else that say that they were feral. But they might use wild horses, that verbiage, just to describe horses that don't live around humans. I don't really know.
Rolling Stone song too, wasn't it? Wild horses.
Yeah. Absolutely. So also wild horses, this scientifically are different. They have 66 chromosomes. Another way to distinguish a truly wild horse from those that are feral is to look at their genetics. Horses that are truly wild have 66 chromosomes, while horses that come from domesticated lineage will have 64. And this is pretty interesting. This applies only to horses, of course. There are other wild equines species that actually have 62 chromosomes. That includes the zebra. These wild equine species can be mated to a domesticated horse, but their offspring will usually be sterile. So a really true wild horse can mate with a domesticated horse, but the offspring will usually be sterile. But in a domesticated horse, their offspring is usually reproductively viable because the extra chromosome pairs. So I thought that was a really interesting fact.
Wow.
I'm not going to talk about that or that because I could.
Can I sing the theme song to Mr. Ed while you're doing this?
Wild horses prefer to live in permanent family groups. Wild horses tend to congregate together into family units before they congregate into their herds. This is another change in behavior when compared to the feral horses that tend to roam around the U.S. and Australia. For the wild horses, each family group is a single stallion and 1 to 3 mares, along with any offspring. For the feral horses, several stallions may be part of the structural herd. So that fact alone makes me believe that the Onaquai horses are in fact wild horses, because there's pictures of them and people posting pictures of them in their specific group, family unit. Yeah. Wow. So it's pretty interesting. Wild horses will always maintain visual contact with their family members. If they have formed into a community herd, each horse within that herd will also keep within sight. They also communicate through vocalizations, tactile signs, and visual signs that are picked up by all of the horses in the family or the herd. Ear tilting, grooming, and kicking are all common forms of communication that lead to complex social existence. Domesticated and feral horses also communicate in a similar fashion, but often without the emphasis on family. They are also social horses, especially in the wild, and they may have preference with whom they associate with, right? So just like people, you like some people, you don't like other people. It's the same thing with horses. So when I give some updates on the Onaquai horses on Monday, they are in pens right now and they are up for adoption. So I'll give you a website and all this stuff if you're interested in adopting. But they say that they want the horses to go in pairs, and they're trying to get the horses horses in pairs because they like to be with another horse. And you could email Jennifer Itzaki to save the horses, jennifer.r.saki, and spelled with Psaki, at who.eop.gov. And you could email her and just tell her how upset you are that this roundup took place.
Hey, Peeny Gigi Wendy, thank you so much, really. Hey, I want to give a shout out to State Senator Mary Kunesh for being on. I would like to end with these thoughts. If you are listening to the show, you're part of the resistance. The ground on which we stand on is sacred ground. It is the blood of our ancestors. We need to resist, divest, join a group, run for office. Happy birthday, Ogama. Really, it's great to have known you for these couple years when you were younger, and now you're getting old. Happy birthday, Louis, Peeny Gigi, for your TikToks. We're still here. We're the seventh generation.
Free Leonard Peltier.
Over the past year and more, we've all missed out on a lot. Family time, graduations,